knowing that you can do all things. And we ask your hearts to understand things on all that. Be with us and guide and direct us. We just love you and praise you. Thank you for everything you do. In the name of praise. Does anybody else think it's funny?
I don't know if this word this morning to anybody, but they had charged some candidate gave us real orders.
Good.
Is always asking about baptism to his orders. Always pray for it.
It's exciting. Good. Let you know. I may do this every single time they sing this song, and again, this may be the first time I've done it, but does anybody know the phrase, "Here I raise my Ebenezer"? Anybody ever wonder that? And that song comes out loud of every blessings.
Yes, sir.
Port of Israel. So, here I raise my Ebenezer, I raise my stone. And just so you know this, I don't have that committed to memory. Here I raise my Ebenezer. And the first time I ever heard it, I thought, what in the world is an Ebenezer? Stone hill. Right? Spring break, but I seem to have been busier this week than I am the weeks I'm at work. Kind of runs out. You're in that close proximity as a teacher and students, and I did study the right chapter. Well, he was up there. He walks in with the night, he asks for what's going on. What all comes about is really interesting. The first part of the chapter here in verse 1, and if someone's ready, verse 1.
Since Samuel died, the Israelites gathered together.
1, Samuel was a very godly man of Israel. He was a very important man in the history of Israel. He held Israel together in their. So Samuel is old in age. He passes away. You know, it's also one of those truths that's a harsh reminder that, and when that happens, Israel did the right thing for him. They lamented for him. They grieved for him, and they buried him to that chapter in the history of Israel. And he was very important to that part of the history of Israel. Anyone got anything they want to add about the death of Samuel? Together, smart, did the right things, treated people well revered. 2 and 3.
Which he was shearing and calling. His name was Nabal, and his wife's name was Abigail. She was an intelligent, beautiful woman, but her husband.
Nabal gets introduced. Rich man, lots of sheep, lots of goats. It was the time of year for them to be sheared. So he was doing. Skimming through here to see if there's anything. Basically, just Maon and Paran.
While David was in the wilderness, he heard that Nabal was shearing sheep. So he said, "Good health to all that is yours. Now I hear that it is sheep shearing time. When your shepherds were with us, we did not mistreat them. And the whole time of David, whatever you can find for them. When David's men arrived, they gave Nabal this message in David's name. Then they went."
Okay. David made this is that they got to know each other, he and the men up there. And it's customary at that time that it was a valuable service that he performed for Nabal because of protection for them. You know, the truth of it is David kind of bent over backwards for this guy, if you want to look at it that way. And what he was asking for, he was asking for pay for his service. And, the interesting thing that I read here is this. David didn't do this when Nabal was going to get paid. So it wasn't an unreasonable request. And so David sent his men up there. You know, there's a couple of things to think about that. Specific payment. They just said, please give whatever you can. And now we see Nabal's reply to David. He's just an ugly human being.
Should I take my bread and my water and my meat that I slaughtered for my shearers and give it to many of outlaws who come from who knows where?
says this basically as a direct insult to David. You know, if someone does something nice for my children, they're going to come and talk to me about it and tell me about it. I'm going to know it, you know? And
He knew exactly who he was. He knew who his father was.
that's exactly right. You know, Nabal basically deepens his insult and conducted himself very carefully when attacked by Saul. So he wasn't a rebellious servant. And then he goes on to say, you know, I'm going to share it with you. Simple as that. And
Know the golden rule?
no, I don't think he abided by it. I think he was a mean human being. I know people that aren't of the Christian faith, and they're some of the best people I know. You know, they just have good hearts. They're very generous people. You know what? What causes someone to be that way? I don't know. You know, we always get in that age-old conversation, is it nature or nurture? You know, is a person's disposition or demeanor, you're just born with that, or is a little bit of a spectrum there? Some people it's more conditioned, and some people it's just more natural. I don't know which one outweighs the other. I think the conditioning when you guys have grown up knowing Titus and Whitley, and for all intents and purposes are pretty good kids. And I used to partly genetics, just inherited, and some of it is conditioning, and I will tell you that. And I think that's the way it is with all of us. We had, and
I think children get a lot of habits from their parents.
absolutely. But I think the nature-nurture, either in nature or nurture, because he was not a nice person. Now, your thoughts?
I think if there comes a time in your life where you realize that.
And you know, I say that an awful lot too. You know, there's this thing called manifest determination that we have to do with children who've been diagnosed with a lot of diagnoses. And I mean, when you choose to behave and act a certain way, there's consequences that are involved, regardless of what your disability is. I mean, as a kid, he was not a good person. Verse 13. John, you got that one?
Yeah, I guess. David said to his
What was David going to do?
take care of it.
If you're not going to pay me, we're going to go down and take it. In the West, there's lock and load, guys. We're going to town. Okay, and that's exactly what David was going to do. He was insulted, and 4 verses, 14, 15, 16, and 17. Who would like to tackle this? Brian?
And as long as we were conversing with them when we were in the fields. They were a wall unto us on us night and day, all the while we were with them keeping the sheep. Now,
Okay. So, Nabal's wife, Abigail, catches wind of what's about to happen. One of them young men basically heard, they didn't steal from us. You know, as long as they were in the fields with them, they were a wall to both us night and day. Took good care of them. And was such just a bad-hearted, his name means fool. He's such a fool. I mean, basically, that you need to help us here if you can. I would say she had no choice in the matter. He probably gave her father a bunch of sheep. Or goats, yeah.
5 dressed sheep, 5 seahs of roasted grain, 100 cakes of raisins, and 200 cakes of pressed figs, and loaded them on donkeys. Then she left them.
Okay. Abigail, she took action quickly. She got together a fair payment for David, and probably a little bit more. David simply was asking that, one of the things that struck me so strongly about this passage of Scripture is how wealthy must he have been for her to have. Did you have one?
And since it was a festive occasion, they should have been having feasts and having a big party.
Yeah.
Right, better work.
They're getting ready to have one.
It's useless all night watching all these fellas property
back evil for good. My God will David.
Hurt was justified. He had been wronged by Nabal, and Nabal was entirely in the wrong here. And Nabal will, okay? And we lawyer up, and then I end up getting paid even less because most of it goes to.
The thing is, reward us. Now, granted, Nabal, if he didn't ask him to, it was still a pretty unruly course on his.
If
I ain't pulling on lawful correctly.
yeah.
I mean, like all of that, 10% or off the head.
Let's just say that I'm wealthy and I have a compound, okay? And I'm gone for a while. And I had an army comes in. We saw that you had some problems. Is there any way you can help us out here? We see you're a wealthy guy. You can afford it. That's kind of how I looked at what David did. Now, again, I'm sure they talked to you. We've provided you a tremendous amount of protection. Can you just kind of help us out?
I'm not disagreeing with that, but I'm just saying, you know,
But I see that point.
you did something for him, you know. To me, that's kind of the stance that Nabal has taken. And he's probably greedy,
Yeah.
you know, and
And it cost some money. And I don't know if they expected me to pay them or not, but I wasn't willing to pay what they were asking for the service that they did. But I never asked them to do the service. Matter of fact, we never had a conversation. You just showed up and said, here, I have this. That was awfully nice. You can keep it if you'd like. No, you can have it. So, I mean, I get both. All right, we got a lot here. 23 through 31. Who would like to read a big portion? 23 through 31.
My Lord, and let me speak to you. Hear what your servant has to say. Please pay no attention, my Lord, to that wicked man Nabal. He is just like his name, and from avenging yourself with your own hands. May your enemies and all who are intent on harming my Lord be like Nabal. And let this gift, which your servant has brought to my Lord, be given to the men who follow. Even though someone is pursuing you to take your life, the life of my Lord will be bound securely in the bundle of the living by the Lord your God. But the life of your enemies becomes the staggering burden of needless bloodshed, or having avenged himself. And when the Lord your God has brought my Lord success, remember your servant.
Okay. So Abigail saw him. She's going to make an appeal to David. She's trying to save her household. I mean, that's basically what she's trying to do. So she's very humble in approaching David and to give him, but she was also takes the blame on herself for what her husband did. And she said, my husband is exactly like his name says. She says, since the Lord has held you back from coming to bloodshed and avenging yourself with your own hand, she states it in a way that kind of guides David. She just presented David as a win-win for him. Take all that we got here. God's going to bless you. He's going to take care of you. Consider the outcome of what he was about to do. You know, how it would be a bad outcome. You know, she criticized her husband because he probably deserved it. I'd say that he was not a nice human being to her either.
You have peace offering.
Yeah, she did. And you know, she also at the end to the battle that they're about ready to go into. Any other thoughts or comments? You go back up to the first part where it talks about her, what's it say? She's not only pretty, she's very intelligent. I'll take what you got, we're going to go on our way. So he did exactly what she wanted him to do. You know, God really battle, and he had 400 men, so he was coming in to utterly destroy him. He was going to wipe him out. And now we get to the point here that is one of the just.
So she told them nothing until nightfall. Then in the morning, when they all was sober, his wife told him all these
He got extremely drunk. She decided not to tell him anything while he was drunk, waited until the morning until he sobered up, told him about it. He has a heart attack or a stroke. And that's exactly how he acted. You know, Abigail's wise action saved Nabal from David, but he didn't save him from the wrath of God. That's fascinating me more than anything now that you've brought it up. Anybody got any more thoughts on that?
A lot of them were custom at that time.
And then you get to the last part here, which is even more fascinating, and I'll read this one, 39 through 44. So when David heard that Nabal was dead, he said, "Blessed be he, the right thing to do that is evil." That sounds like it, doesn't it?
Well, Abigail would keep a blemish off of his conscience.
Yes. For the Lord has returned the wickedness of Nabal on his own head. Nabal was a fool. He treated people poorly. So God gave him what was coming his due. Here is your maidservant, a servant to wash the feet of the servants of my Lord. So Abigail rose in haste, rode on a donkey, attended by the son of Laish, who was from Galilee. So the Lord returned the wickedness from him. I could go on a lot about that, but the truth of it is, it was kind of the custom, I suppose, at the time to have a women.
What it sounds like.
That's what it sounds like. I'm looking here to see if there's any. Her back said, you know, I take her back. Gave her to someone else, and he very well may have. But you know, David didn't follow God's plan for marriage. If you think about it.
With the sons.
Whole estate. So it was it a smart political move for David? Always acted like men of God. And truthfully, they thought just like we do sometimes, you know, politically and motivated. How's it going to benefit us? We still consider the best benefit to ourselves. Friday night is foot washing service. Sunday morning is our men's breakfast and sunrise service. I haven't talked to Ron, but I'm assuming I'll do the sunrise service. Really, just asking. Yeah, have you ever sat beside me or in front of me? I know there's been times Shannon's been in front of me. And then when I sat up front, I think, am I bothering the people up here? Because I'm all students and me. All right, let's stand.
One thing for each one wants to come out this way, or go with you, because everyone else is returned to their homes, watch over us through this coming week, expect you us, for this Jesus, and we pray. Amen.
Was that a good idea?
Just let me know if I need to do something.
Anybody got duty tomorrow?
No, I have my license.
Check the old, someone said my whole dates are off.
You get to start that groove again tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. 27 more.
It's okay.
His backpack is that Eric's? Is that Eric's backpack? Yeah. Grab the pants? Yeah, I do. I will, I don't care. I'll let you do it, you're up there. I got your mug. Huh?
I'm gonna call Windstream right now.
Hey, I'll shut the computer down, is that okay? That's fine. Matt,
That's fine. I don't remember doing it.
check. We had, and I found water, and I had almost 56 down.
understands complete sentences. So please talk to me like a person. How can I help you
You the
today?
one with the banner storage in there?
Internet service.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thank you. Please hold while I transfer your call.
Yeah, Windscreen was so bad I have their customer support number saved in my phone.
Our offices are